The Vikings just dropped a bomb that nobody saw coming. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is gone. Just like that. For years, we have been watching this team, following every move, but right now, we're all just sitting here trying to piece together with what just happened. But when you look at what really went down here, it's completely different from what people are saying.
Here's something that came out of nowhere, unexpected. Now, there were indications that there may be issues, but we're nearly 4 weeks removed from the last game of the regular season. The Minnesota Vikings, who ended the year on a 5-game winning streak, have fired general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. He arrived 4 years ago with Kevin O'Connell, and both men got contract extensions after the 2024 season, one that came within one regular season game of the number 1 seed in the NFC. O'Connell got his extension first, Adofo-Mensah's came later, and that was the first hint as to the relative prioritization of the two guys within the organization. Here's the problem, though. When the offseason unfolded and the Vikings were figuring out their quarterback plan for 2025, this is my interpretation, driven mainly by the outcome, but also we've hinted at some of this stuff. There's been some stuff dating back to last March when people who were dealing with the Vikings, when we were waiting to see what they were going to do about the quarterback position, were saying, we don't know who's calling the shots. We don't know who's making the decision. There's a couple of other factors here that intrigue me. One, is it as simple as Sam Darnold made it to the Super Bowl and the Vikings had previously decided to stay the course, but with Darnold making it to the Super Bowl and playing as well as he did against the Rams on Sunday, someone with equity in the team decided, I just can't do this. I can't in good conscience keep Kwesi Adofo-Mensah in charge of the organization. And his draft record has not been good.
Now, there's a history of these draft picks not landing or not being productive under Adofo-Mensah, but it's obviously pinpointed and centering around JJ McCarthy. I do believe that it's partly because Sam Darnold was able to go off and have this fantasy season and lead a team to the Super Bowl, but it's the fact that JJ McCarthy was in the building. JJ McCarthy was there during training camp. You knew a little bit about who he was, and with having him in the building, you still made the evaluation that led to the decision of allowing Sam Darnold to be acquired by the Seattle Seahawks. And when you look at this team, you go from 14-3. You're a team that's in the playoffs, and then the next year you completely miss, and you miss because of not bad quarterback play, but at times terrible and inexcusable quarterback play, while your quarterback, or the quarterback of last year, is now starting in the Super Bowl for the Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, MK and RC, y'all both alluded to it, and obviously seeing Sam Darnold now in the Super Bowl, but I think the point is that you just talked about, this was a 14-win team last year. I'm not sure if Sam Darnold being in the Super Bowl adds more pressure than the fact that you saw this decline from 1 year. Now, the quarterback obviously is the common denominator in Sam Darnold, but the JJ McCarthy part of it, you took a swing on a quarterback that you thought would be a good first rounder. And I know we've gotten to a point since we've been on this show for a lot of these rookies that have performed very well in their first year. But ultimately, this is always a situation where it's up for grabs if you really got the guy that you hope you got. But I think the most important point, the way I look at it in my estimation, is the fact that you were a 14-win team last year. You did get really good quarterback play out of Sam Darnold. You had an opportunity to go into the playoffs, and we know how that ended, but you made that decision based solely off 2 games at the end of the year as opposed to the complete body of work. And now we sit here with Sam Darnold being in the Super Bowl. To go from a 14-win team to what we saw the Minnesota Vikings become this year, I think speaks more to why Kwesi is no longer there.
Yeah, go ahead, RC.
Yeah, Mina, I know you talk to a lot of these GMs and you deal in the analytics with a lot of these departments. How do you think they came to the decision in the offseason? Because you had already acquired JJ McCarthy. How much of a general manager and executives wanting to be right about drafting a guy leads to someone like Sam Darnold leaving the building?
You know, I think this is more about player evaluation.
The quarterback situation that they did this past year, where Daniel Jones was in the building and Sam Darnold was in the building, and they leave, clearly there are going to be questions that are asked and blame that's assigned. Now, I'm not telling you that this was a Kwesi Adofo-Mensah decision or Kevin O'Connell. I don't know exactly how it came out. I do remember that they wanted and tried to keep Sam Darnold. They made an offer to him, and it just so happened that the market was such that there was more money out there and a team that wanted him even more than Minnesota, which had drafted JJ McCarthy. Daniel Jones, they also attempted to re-sign. They tried to re-sign both those guys. And it wasn't happening at that moment. So they wanted to keep both, but they also had a commitment to JJ McCarthy that they drafted in the first round. And that's an organizational decision. I don't know, who drafted him over the other one, but they all signed off on it, I think, obviously. And I know that they definitely worked to keep Darnold and Jones, and both wanted and were willing to leave.
Yeah, and you and I know what that means when a team wants to keep somebody or they don't want to keep somebody or they're interested but not actually. Sam Darnold's deal is not that huge of a deal whenever it comes to quarterback deals that he took to go to Seattle. Now, I did hear they took less money to go to Indianapolis. Now, granted, that was only like $10 million. So whenever you talk about what the deals could be with Minnesota offering, not that I want to just continue to pit. Was that? Go ahead.
No. I think Minnesota offered... I think Minnesota was offering Sam Darnold way less than Seattle. Seattle was about $35 million a year.
Yeah,
and
guaranteed, I think.
Minnesota came in way less, I believe.
Exactly, which goes back to what I was asking you about, we want you.
Right. Well, here's the deal. Teams' offers always speak volume. That's what you're saying.
Yes,
right?
Yes, Schefter.
It's not about the money, but it's always about the money.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Says to you how much we're prioritizing you. The money says how much we want you. So if you're the Vikings, we want you. We want you to the tune of $20 to $25 million a year or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Seattle, they want you $35 million a year. So Seattle wants you more than Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
Yeah, that's how business works in professional sports, at least.
Minnesota didn't just fire their GM. They made a statement. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is out, just like that. And the timing? Cold-blooded. The guy was down in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, doing exactly what a GM is supposed to do. Scouting, meeting, grinding through the future of the franchise. He flies back to freezing Minnesota, and minutes after landing, he's done. That's not a normal firing. That's a message being sent. But here's where it gets wild. While Minnesota is tearing apart its front office, Sam Darnold is getting ready for the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's Sam Darnold, the same quarterback they had in their building and just let walk. The guy they could have kept, should have kept, but didn't. And now he's in Seattle, one win away from a ring, while the Vikings are sitting at home, blowing things up and trying to figure out how it all went sideways. And it's not like they never tried. Honestly, it's worse than that. According to Adam Schefter, Minnesota actually made Darnold an offer. But here's the gut punch. Seattle came in at $35 million a year. Minnesota, way less, embarrassingly less. So yeah, they wanted him, but wanting someone and paying them are two very different things. And Darnold heard that message loud and clear. You're not our guy. You're not the priority. So he walked. And now the Vikings are paying for it in ways no contract can fix. And it didn't stop there. Daniel Jones was in that building too. Minnesota tried to bring him back. He walked as well. Two quarterbacks, both gone, both doing well somewhere else. That's not bad luck, that's a trend, and trends usually tell the truth. Now this is where things get even darker. This wasn't just about quarterbacks or money, this was about power. Schefter laid it out plainly. There was real tension inside that organization. Front office versus coaching staff, people clashing, quiet disagreements turning into loud ones, a full-on power struggle happening behind closed doors while the team tried to act like everything was fine. And when the dust settled, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, won. Kwesi, he became collateral damage. They've slid Rob Brzezinski, a longtime executive, into the interim role. He'll run things through the draft. No urgency to hire a new GM. No rush at all. And that tells you everything you need to know. This is Kevin O'Connell's team now. His vision, his operation, his kingdom. And Kwesi was the fall guy. But here's the part that really sticks. For years, everyone crowned Kevin O'Connell a genius, a quarterback whisperer. Give him anyone under center and he'll make it work. Well, this season cracked that narrative wide open, didn't it? Darnold left, JJ McCarthy got hurt, and suddenly uncomfortable questions started popping up. Is KOC really that guy, or was he riding talent he wasn't even willing to pay for? The Vikings clearly made their choice. They believe in him. They tied themselves to him. But if this blows up, there's nowhere to hide. The scapegoat is already gone. And the worst part? This story isn't done. Schefter said it himself. More is coming. When Kwesi's side starts talking, when leaks start hitting, it's going to get messy. That's how this league works. The fired executive fights for his name, the organization protects itself, and the truth gets buried somewhere in the middle. So let's call this what it really is. This is a franchise in trouble, an aging roster, a win-now window that's closing fast, a front office that just collapsed right before the draft. That's not stability, that's chaos. That's how seasons go off the rails. And all of it, every bit of it, is happening while Sam Darnold gets ready for the Super Bowl. The ghost Minnesota can't escape. The reminder of what happens when you undervalue the right guy at the worst possible time. So yeah, the Vikings made their move. They backed their coach, they cut ties with their GM, but in this league, you better be absolutely sure you're right. Because if Kevin O'Connell doesn't deliver, if JJ McCarthy doesn't pan out, if this whole thing collapses, there's no backup plan. The bodies are already buried. And somewhere in Seattle, Sam Darnold is preparing for the biggest game of his life, while in Minnesota, they're left staring at the wreckage, wondering how in the hell it ever got this bad.